Hey everyone, welcome to SaaS Me Anything. I'm your host, Meredith Albertson, Chief Marketing Officer at Zylo. Now, as companies look to get a hold of their massive investments in SaaS and software, one of the questions we hear 9 out of 10 times is, how should we do this? How do we build a program, a strategy? Who should be involved? This season, I'm sitting down with some of Zylo's in-house SaaS management experts to discuss the enterprise SaaS management framework and get answers to those very questions for you. You're going to learn how to establish a foundation for SaaS management and the roadmap for building and operationalizing a program at your organization. In our last episode, Ben Pippinger walked through the steps for getting executive and organizational buy-in for SaaS management. Well, excited to say that Ben is back with us today to talk about who really needs to be involved and break down the roles and responsibilities of executing a fantastic SaaS management program. All right, Ben, welcome back. Excited to have you here. Let's jump in and start with the basics. Who do you think really needs to be involved in a SaaS management program?
Thanks, Maren. Super excited to be back and to speak with you again. Yeah, so who needs to be involved in the SaaS management program? First and foremost, is not just an IT initiative. Lots of times when people think software, they think IT. SaaS is different. You really need to include lots of different parts of the business, but primary actors and characters that play a role here would be IT for sure, but also your software asset management teams or SAM teams. Your procurement teams, and even your lines of business leaders play a role in helping build a program and manage SaaS applications for your business.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about those rules in more detail. What do each of them play in executing a SaaS management strategy, and how do they divide and conquer? This is a fairly sizable initiative.
Yeah, definitely. So let's start with IT. So IT, what they really truly care about is operational efficiency for the business, security and risk mitigation, innovation, and the overall employee experience. So a few examples here of the role that they would play within a SaaS management program would be setting the overall software strategy. So when you think about the tools that are being used and how they're being used, IT is definitely critical there, especially for those broad tools that are used by everyone in the business. Next would be to build out the system of record of software. They want to know what's out there. They want to know what people are using. They want visibility to understand, what potential blind spots that the business may have. So that's really important for them, is to build that system of record. Third would be building out a licensing, provisioning, as well as a deprovisioning process to make sure that employees are getting the tools that they need, but also that you're not overextended or employees have access to tools they no longer need access to. So running that process and doing reclamation campaigns and things like that. And then lastly is around app rationalization. They want to make sure that the business has the apps that they need, but there's not redundancy, that employees can find the apps. They're not wasting their time looking for applications, that the apps that they need are available to them to help with that overall employee experience. So the next key persona would be software asset management. And really what SAM teams care about is making sure the business is compliant from a licensing perspective. And then they really want to make sure that there's cost savings, or trying to drive cost savings from a licensing perspective as well. So a couple of examples here would be helping the business onboard new vendors. So as you sign up new software vendors, making sure that they're onboarded into your system, that you have all the data that you need about those vendors, you understand the contract and the licensing and the usage and all that good stuff. Next would be to manage those user licenses. So being able to have the proper visibility to know who has access, are they using those licenses or not? And they use that data to then create ELPs, or enterprise or effective license position reports, which are used by the business then to work with the vendors either during a true-up process or renewal process to make sure that here's what I bought, what am I actually using, and are we getting the proper value based off of what we purchased from you? And then lastly, they use that data to partner with IT procurement teams around app rationalization and as well as the renewal process. So last key persona that we'll touch on here is procurement. So procurement, they touch lots of the parts of the business, but when we think about software, they're really focused in and are part of this process around buying and renewing software. So what do they do during that process? Well, first, they help with the overall purchasing strategy. They make sure that you're buying the right tools, that you don't have something that already exists out there. They want to make sure that as you're going through that you're making the best decision for the business when you're buying something new for the organization. They look at benchmarks on prices to make sure that you are getting the right deal. They want to make sure that they're getting the best possible price that they can for the software that's being purchased. And they really want to help track and report on savings that were achieved when they were engaged with that process. And then lastly on procurement is they also want to make sure they have a data-driven, proactive renewal process. They don't want to be in the position where they're caught flat-footed or get something from the business that says, hey, I got to renew this in the next 24 hours. They want to be ahead of that and ensure that all the proper steps are taken as you're leading into a software renewal.
Yeah, procurement is definitely, I think, the unsung hero in this situation for sure. So you laid that out super clearly. You talked about IT, we talked about software asset management and procurement.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's say I'm at an organization that doesn't have a SAM professional. Is everything you laid out like super structured and hard and fast, or is there flexibility kind of based on, what roles you have at your company, the size of your company? Does it look a little bit different?
Yeah, it's not hard and fast. That's sort of, by the book. I'd say those are the roles and responsibilities for those three types of teams within an organization. But not every company is going to have that. As you are a growing company, oftentimes you won't have procurement until you get to a certain stage, right? So then you get procurement in place. It might be one or two people that are, strapped for time and resources and things like that. So same with software asset management. That typically even comes after procurement as you grow and scale as a business. So lots of times maybe those functions won't be in place, or maybe potentially, the app that you're buying falls below the support level that you have for those different teams as they scale what they do. So we see some other players as well come into play. Yeah. So like, for instance, app owners are individuals within the company that own that app. So they're responsible for maybe enablement or the relationship with the vendor or something like that. They may play, different roles as well within the company to help support the renewal or the purchasing or the true-up process. Another emerging area is around FinOps. FinOps teams are starting to take on some additional responsibilities outside of sort of the core cloud stack, those hyperscalers, to make sure that those are managed correctly, especially when you think about cloud like SaaS and consumption products. So we definitely see FinOps starting to play a role here as well to pinch hit in certain scenarios when maybe resources aren't available or teams aren't built out for those personas that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, definitely starting to hear more about FinOps, definitely coming into that team sport picture for sure. So this question, I guess this may seem obvious, so pardon me, but you laid everything out so well, and I think it's really great and easy to understand for everybody who's listening today. But why is role clarity really important? Why is it so important for everybody to understand, what they get out of it, what they need to be doing, their areas of responsibility?
Yeah, I don't think it's obvious. There's parts that are obvious, Meredith, but I think there's parts that aren't so obvious. So I'll just start off by saying one of the core things about SaaS that make it so challenging for companies to manage is that it's decentralized. So it's purchased by literally lots of people within organizations. It could be an employee, it could be a line of business leader, it could be IT, it could be your CEO buying software, who knows? In our latest edition of our SaaS Management Index, we report that only 16% of apps are owned by IT. So when only 16% of the apps are owned by IT, but they have all these broad responsibilities to make sure the business is operating effectively and efficiently, it's tough and can get chaotic really quickly. So definitely roles and responsibilities are really important. A couple of the other key points as to why they are is number one would be there is the possibility for duplicated efforts here because it's decentralized and it's all over the business. You want to make sure that you have a streamlined approach for managing these applications and these vendors and the renewals and everything else that goes along with it so that people aren't wasting their time. The second is that with the complexity of SaaS and with the sheer number of applications that are out there, hundreds or thousands in some organizations, critical tasks can be forgotten or dropped or things can slip through the cracks. So having clear roles and responsibilities helps make sure that doesn't happen. And then lastly, there is a ton of opportunity when you put a program in place to manage SaaS. With clear roles and responsibilities, you can ensure accountability. So make sure that you're doing what you said you're going to do to get the results that the business is expecting you to achieve.
You talk about shared ownership and accountability, which I think is really, really important too. We're talking about personas that they don't often work together. So is there a secret sauce? Is there some, advice that you can give on, how do you kind of bring that shared accountability and, together with those different groups?
Yeah, I think there's a few ingredients here to my secret sauce. The first one would be the data. having the data in place to get central visibility to know what's happening is critical. Getting centralized visibility to not only know the apps that are out there, but understand what your contract terms are with them, what you've purchased, when your start and end dates are, what your usage looks like, what your risk exposure looks like with those applications. All that's really, really important to help drive your strategy. On the business goals and sort of executive level alignment, a lot of this stuff is going to impact not just the team that you're on, but the entire business. So a good example of that would be like an app rationalization program. Let's say you are out there and you realize, because you have the data, that you've got way too many collaboration tools. And if you go and reduce that number and consolidate within a few standards that work for your business, there's a big opportunity, one, to improve the employee experience, but also cost savings and risk avoidance and all that good stuff that comes along with that by having just a smaller number of vendors that you're working with. That's going to result in change management for the business. You're going to have to take someone's favorite tool away, probably, that they love to use. And so being able to have executive sponsorship and support that says, hey, we need to do something about this. We're spending way too much on software. Rationalization is a strategy and approach. You need that executive level alignment and those business goals in place. And then lastly, hundreds or thousands of apps that your business has. It's a lot to get your arms around. There is a ton of opportunity in your top 20 and 25 applications. So start there, identify those, put a program in place to get your arms around those and manage those, get the savings for the business, report those out, and then continue to build your program after that.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot to be said with a crawl, walk, run approach. You don't have to do everything tomorrow, but you can have real significant business impact by just, like you said, starting with those top 20 to 25 applications. Again, as you highlight these roles, responsibilities, use cases, we can definitely see the very clear business risk mitigation that happens with SaaS management. But love that we learned today about the need for these really established, clear roles and responsibilities, being able to ensure that accountability to be able to drive the strategy and the program forward. As always, Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. We encourage everybody to check out our No BS SaaS Management Playbook. Link to that is in the show notes, and you can take a deeper dive. It's a really fantastic asset as you're starting to build out your program and want to understand a little bit more context around those roles and responsibilities and how to get started. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're going to get notifications about all of our new episodes, all of the new great video content we have planned for you in the upcoming year. Join us next time, where we are going to explore the pitfalls of managing SaaS with SAM tools. Dun, dun, dun.